Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So yesterday I match made for a particular District Union legendary run right after playing the Roosevelt Island weekly, and immediately I match made. The team was right here at this door. So I had this particular shield build I put on. I slap it on and I get hit with 2 explosives and I was not staggered. Now, that was a really cool feeling because this build is pretty much an experimental build, but I took the build all the way from here, and me and the entire group of agents, we ran this entire DUA mission. And not only that, there were 4 directives on. Now, I've run a few legendary missions with all directives on. I don't think I've run them frequently. I usually maybe will run with some groups with 1 or 2 directives on. But this particular group, build was very important because for some reason, this agent must have had a little bit too much to drink and decided that it was wise to put 4 directives on. Thankfully, I had this build on me, which was not even a build I was intending to run, but one that I accidentally just had on when I match made. I didn't have time to even change. And one of the biggest reasons I believe this build helped so much was because of one exotic item that pretty much changed the game. Now, if you enjoy this content, feel free to leave a comment, do whatever you like. If you don't like the content, you can hit the dislike as well. This is the Gaming Daddy channel. All comments welcome, trolls welcome. I'm also a troll myself, so that's how we roll. Now, the reason this was possible is because of the Sawyer's knee pads. The Sawyer's knee pads, an exotic pair of knee pads that grants you 2 bonuses. The first bonus is a stand your ground bonus. This says you cannot be staggered by explosions. In fact, if you guys see that footage, it literally was 2 seconds after I spawned in. I spun around, I clicked start recording on my OBS, and next thing you know, in about a split second, I get hit with 2 lob grenades from these Grenadier NBA players on Legendary, and then a few seconds after I healed, I got hit again with multiple. And the stagger was actually 0 in my opinion. Now, yes, the Sawyer's Nipper comes with a little bit of explosive resistance, which is a buff that actually allows for you to be able to just resist, the explosive damage that actually goes with explosive resistance. So that's going to be something that's pertinent to the rest of this conversation later down the road. The second buff that the Sawyer's Nipper gives you is 3% increased damage, stacking up to 10 when you're not moving. So it says weapon damage is increased. So it says increases total weapon damage by 3% each second you're not moving. It stacks up to 10% until you start moving. All stacks are lost 10 seconds after moving. So as a shield or tank player, I think there is some necessity to be able to use this in a legendary mission, because not only are you going to be playing a shield player, you're going to be playing a utility player that's able to do things that perhaps even your regular healer may not be able to do. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you take the role of a healer. No, all that means is as you're running with this, and yes, I have a Marksman SVD rifle. Don't ask me how. I literally did not even put this build completely together when I hit matchmake. I was still working on it when somebody invited me, and I got invited into this. And so I had my SVD that I'd used in my old mission, which was running the Roosevelt Island, and I literally was using it here. Now, again, the damage was actually pretty decent. With my full marksman rifle build, I hit around 1 to 2 point something million with my SVD, but here I was hitting on the crits somewhere around 700k with an all blue build, which is insane for the way that weapon actually works. But ideally, as a shield player, it was easy for me to be able to take in a bunch of damage. It was easy for me to be able to tank explosions, and it was easy for me to be able to deal some decent damage with my sidearm. I used, over the course of this mission run, I used the Liberty Exotic Pistol, and then I switched to a D50 whenever I wanted to use my Sweet Dreams, because the Sweet Dreams was a very helpful tool here. The huge issue with this particular mission was we had 4 directives on. So with directives, you're going to be out of ammo a lot. You're not going to be able to have any radar, and I don't even remember all what 4 directives were set. They're right here on the screen, but it really did make the mission fun and challenging. So when you actually put your directives on, your build patterns will have to change. If you were, say, maybe using the skill cooldown versions, you would have to do something different, and I think a tank build at that point is really going to come in very handy if you were to ask me. So let's look at the build setup. Let's look at what we did differently, or what I did differently, and what eventually the team got to do differently that helped us to really much kind of steamroll this legendary, because at first it was really rough. Okay, so this build was born out of desperation. While playing the Roosevelt Island Legendary, 2 of our guys died. One guy was AFK. He was literally standing in the middle of the mission, and so I had to run back with my marksman rifle build, and I slapped on the 3 pieces of Foundry Bulwark that I had. Fortunately, I had a backpack that was Bellstone Armory with Adrenaline Rush. So Bellstone Armory will give you 1% armor regeneration, and then Adrenaline Rush says whenever you're within 10 meters of an enemy, you gain 20% bonus armor for 5 seconds. It stacks up to 3 times. So that's pretty much a stack of about 60% bonus armor, which right now, because this build is not maximized properly, I'm looking at 1.8 mil in my armor. When I add another 60% to that, you're looking at an extra, close to another 1 million or so damage, if you were to ask me. So that really puts me at a high armor cap, and that's one of the reasons you want to do that. The 1% armor regeneration you're getting from the Bellstone is actually very important, so make sure that that's something that you pay attention to. I also had a Bellstone chest piece. Don't ask me how I got these pieces. I think I was just running around and somehow they just dropped from a Bellstone mission or something, and I think that's where I was able to farm a bunch of them. This one has got Intimidate. Intimidate says while you have bonus armor, it applies total weapon damage. It amplifies, your total weapon damage by 35% to enemies within 10 meters. So again, as a shield build, as a tank, this is something that you can use if you don't have a Foundry Bulwark chest piece or a Foundry Bulwark backpack. Now you may ask, but I thought you had a Foundry Bulwark chest piece and backpack that you got from the raid. Well, you have a very keen eye. This is my 3rd character on a whole separate account. So this is actually separate from all of the other stuff that I do. I have 3 different accounts that I play on regularly. So yes, I have things on some accounts that are not available on some other accounts. In fact, this account doesn't even have a 4th piece. It didn't even have a knee pad. That's how I stumbled upon the Sawyer's knee pad here. Now let's look at the Foundry Bulwark bonuses and how they actually do apply here. In this case, I get 10% total armor. I get 1% armor regen, which is actually stacking up to 2% armor regen if you look at the Bellstone Armory. And then I also get the 50% shield health. Very, very cool. If I had a 4th piece, say if you asked me to run this on, say, PC or my PlayStation account where I have my Bellstone chest piece and backpack, I'll more than likely not use the Intimidate chest piece. I'll absolutely go for the chest piece for the Foundry Bulwark rather than using the Bellstone chest piece, and just keep Adrenaline Rush, because Adrenaline Rush really does stack my armor. And I get it, you really want do you want the damage or do you want the armor? So it depends on what you want to do. As long as your Sawyer's knee pads are actually not affected, then that's pretty much something that you can choose whichever direction you want to go if you have both of those items. So this says whenever you or your shield takes damage, 20% of the amount is repaired to both over 15 seconds. So this is what I was missing out, which is the makeshift repairs. But again, I didn't have that. But again, like I said, Adrenaline Rush was helping me to stack my armor. So I didn't really see a need, nor did I really miss it. You just have to play very smart. And then with the Sawyer's knee pad, that just also dictates that as a tank, you have to kind of play in a different way. You got to fire a weapon, you got to move around, and then make sure that you stop enough to be able to keep your stacks, because after 10 seconds, 10 seconds after moving, you lose those stacks. So if you want to keep building them and not losing them all the time, you have to make sure that you have, that in place for you. Now, a few challenges that we had in playing this legendary mission and how this build was able to come through. You see, this is very important to talk about because every mission is different. You might take this build into a regular legendary and you might be the person holding everybody back because you're not dealing a lot of damage. In this case, fortunately, there were 4 directives on where we had almost no ammo. Your ammo is very limited, and so that's a big deal. We also had the one where if you take down an enemy NPC, other enemy NPCs will gain more health. So that's also another really big thing that you really do have to consider. And we also had the directive where if you, I think if your health was actually depleted, you could only heal back to a specific, portion of your armor back. So when you put those three directives together, there really needs to be a lot of creativity that actually does go on. So you think about all of this, it really started to make sense. I think there was somebody else that had some armor stacking going on, or maybe everybody did in some form or manner. But we had somebody that was actually using the tip of the spear gear set. This gear set really did come through for us, because I don't know what everybody else was wearing. It was kind of weird, but the tip of the spear guy, he was the person that could make his way out and do some really serious damage. For those of you who don't know, tip of the spear is a very good gear set. I mean, it's not really talked about, but for people in the PvE side, if you play a lot of PvE, tip of the spear is basically a huge incentive when it comes to actually using something that would deal a lot of damage instantly to enemy NPCs. So with him always going outside of the room, I had to actually play the role of reviver. I would literally make my way outside and go pick up this dude, because he would be down almost all the time. So at some point I went down, but thankfully we had another tank who was also in the mission, who was able to kind of get everybody up. So that was we almost wiped. I'm telling you, it was crazy, because this tip of the spear guy would just keep going out by himself. There he is out there already on the floor. So somehow, some way, I had to go pick him up. It was nice to go out there and pick him up, because when you have these rushers just shooting all these, throwing, well, it's not the tip of the spear guy, it's the other guy, sorry, but he also went down. When you have all these rushers throwing all these drones towards you, you just pretty much ignore all of the damage. You just ignore all of the explosions. I mean, look at the way I'm just literally standing there and I'm just picking him up, and I just did that, without any problems. So these are some of the things that you have to consider when it comes down to it. Now, the other parts of the mission, it was quite funny and interesting to go ahead and see how all of this came together. One thing about playing some of the harder missions is the way your team synergy works. And the challenge about team synergy, if you're doing a random matchmade group, is you guys aren't really talking. You have to use visual cues. You have to use your, your intuition in many cases, and know when to play a little safer and know when to play a little bit more aggressively. And so we were able to kind of take our skills into all of these rooms. And then at some point, almost everybody in the team started to use some kind of a tank build. I don't know why. Everybody just had a shield up, and it was fun. We just started, and like I said, it became to the point where we started to steamroll the entire content. I think somebody must have had Galvanize and was using a Scorpio and was stacking armor for us. I don't know exactly how that happened, but I just kept getting an armor stack over time, and so that was actually pretty cool on the team. But anyways, the final boss was a walk in the park. We all just took shield and just started walking around the entire stage. It was a lot of fun, but this is, in my opinion, one extra way that you can actually play a tank build when you're out there. So check it out, give it a try. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions on how this build could be made better, please leave them in the comment section. Also note, like I said, this is a character that has nothing, okay? Literally nothing. This is a character that I basically put together because of a challenge that subscribers actually gave me. Some subscribers said, hey, why don't you see what it's like to play as a solo player, or somebody who doesn't have a clan, or someone who doesn't have friends? Basically YouTube, play with your, play a game like anybody else would play it without being a YouTuber. So I created this account. I gave it a weird name. I finally changed the name to a Gamey Daddy name, but I gave it a weird name that nobody knew it was me. And I just ran around trying to see what I could do, and see what the challenges were at that time anyways, playing as a solo player. Thank you very much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys so much. Like I said, leave comments, leave questions, leave suggestions, and hopefully we'll talk in another one. Peace out.